Did you know that there are a few North American Wii games that were only sold in South America? I'm holding one in my hand right now. This is Atrévete a Soñar, a game based on the Mexican telenovela of the same name. It's aimed for teenagers, and looking it up, it translates to Dare to Dream. I saw that this ran for a single year, and they somehow pumped out over 200 episodes. Like, geez, they must have overworked those kids. And oh yeah, because of this being a Latin American only release, this is a lot harder to find than most other games. The only way I could get my hands on this was through eBay. If you go on price charting, you'll see that someone bought this game complete in box with the manual for $120. And that sucker happened to be me. But before getting into anything else, let me just ask you, do you think a game should be worth that price? I guess it's my job to find out if that's the case, so let's get into it. While I don't know much, I at least know in one way or another this ties into the show, and I'm thrown into this tutorial. I'm really glad that even though this entire game has Spanish audio, there are English subtitles for all of the cutscenes. The first thing I have to do here is pick between two different factions, the Populars and the Divines. I didn't know what the hell either of these ensued, so I clicked the Populars and entered the story mode. And as you can probably immediately piece together, this game was on quite a budget. There's voice acting and even some sound effects, but it's shown through static images and stiff player models. Getting past that, this takes place in a high school where they are having a competition and captains had to be picked. The side I chose picked Patito, which happens to be who I am playing as. And what kind of competition is this? Well, a singing one, of course. Immediately realizing I can't sing in a language I'm not even fluent in, I started saying random things, and even random noises, just to see what I could get away with through the game's voice detection. How am I supposed to do this? Can I just talk over this? Can I just simply talk? Blah 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 blah. It's actually doing green on some of them. Wait, hold on. Hello, talking on the mic. 1, 2, 3, ABC. Sadly, that wasn't enough, and I failed the first song, so it was time to workshop some more, and eventually, I channeled my inner microwave. Can I just read the lyrics out straight? Do I have to actually sing it? Hazme o mundo de calme lo me. That's not gonna give me it. I can't. How am I supposed to get through this? If I just like don't talk and I play back the stream on a loop into this microphone, how well do you think it would do? Put the song on YouTube next to the microphone? I mean, that is a possibility. I could maybe do that. Okay, that gave me a bunch of points. Did you see that? That was enough to finally make my way through, more than doubling the score of my previous attempt. Obviously, this isn't the intended way to get through this, but what did you expect a gringo like me to do? Anyways, I get bullied by the other team further, and I have to have everyone else around reassure me that I'm competent enough to continue. And this brings me into the second thing you sometimes have to do during these music sections, dance movements. I'll admit, I probably should have been standing here, and I also forgot what some of the movements even were, cause I zoned out during the initial tutorial. What saved me during these was the sections being long enough for me to collect enough points, so even though I sucked even more on these, I still scraped by. The high school bullying continues, and I guess my rivals screwed me over by swapping the lyrics, which means I wasn't ready to sing. But the show must go on, I guess. After that, it seems my rivals are trying to rig the competition, and they get someone to somehow convince the organizers that the next competition is scheduled for sooner than initially announced. Luckily for us, we got this crazy thing called a car, and arrive at the last second. Thank God. I really wanted to dance some more. Next, I'm invited to some fashion show, and somehow the gameplay of this gets worse. Now, instead of individually singing or dancing, you're now required to do a mix of both at once. There were times off and on where I forgot to go into microwave mode just because I was focusing on the controller movements instead, but nonetheless, I persevered. While getting ready for the next performance, I get stuck in the dressing room, and to solve this, one of the others has an idea to kick down the door, and this is shown through award-winning animation. Keeping this up, at the end of the song that follows this, my character model freezes and then slides across the stage. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. I'm then congratulated by my parents, and then the guy that kicked down the door earlier comes up to me and asks if I can be his girlfriend. I'm not even sure if that is the same guy. These player models are painfully generic, but either way, that somehow worked. I assume there's some lore from the source material that I'm probably missing here. All you need to know is that it immediately throws me into the credits. I want to remind you that this cost me $120 to get. Considering I played this for 40 minutes, that means I paid $3 for every minute of gameplay, and hell, even more considering the first few minutes was just me learning the game. I learned there is another mode labeled Concert, but all that entails is the song portions of the story mode. I guess there's a few more songs hidden in that one, but I've figured out all that this game has to offer. I've seen it all already. Is this game worth it? Well, for the price that I got it for, obviously no. But even if I found this in a bargain bin, I would still feel ripped off. Sure, I'll fully acknowledge that I am not the intended audience of this, a Mexican teenager, but but I can still judge it based on its substance. It's a very basic karaoke game that doesn't even last an hour. Even if you did spend your time going through all the other songs, do you really think a kid is going to spend hours and hours just looking at this game? It's pretty clear that this is a soulless cash grab that was just scrounged together at the last second. For something this short, you think they would at least properly animate the story mode cutscenes. For all those reasons, I rate this a 2. You may ask, why not a 1? And well, that's because games can somehow get worse on this console. At least this was a game that I could play from start to finish. It's playable. There's not much else to say here. As of recording, this is the most expensive game in my collection, and considering it's not a fleshed out game, that fact alone makes this even more disappointing. Someday, I'll get to some of the other Spanish-oriented games. First one I can think of off the top of my head is El Chavo, but until then, that's all I have for today. So, thanks for watching.